Hey, it's Bill. It's been a while since I posted a video, and I've made good progress. I have got cork glued down. I have got everything, well, not everything, but most things wired on the layout at this point in time. I've got all of the main areas taken care of. I still have a little bit of work to do for wiring over near the turntable and where the roundhouse is going to be sitting at. I do not have those tracks finished yet. I still have to do some work on the turntable itself, finish getting it wired up, get a track on it, and so forth. Still have to glue the tracks down, but I am going to be starting that this weekend. Richmond, Virginia is under a winter storm warning as I film this, which means we're probably going to get 2 to 4 inches of snow, which will shut everything down for the weekend. I still have some other things that I want to take care of. On the wiring front, I am waiting on some switches, not track switches, but some small single pole switches to come in so that I can build a little panel for energizing the track. I'm running standard DC on this, so I will have a block type layout, one that if I ever switch over to DCC actually should work. I've got all turnouts insulated. I am going to power them through the points, at least at this point. I was looking at how I was going to do this, and I was thinking of doing a contact switch underneath the table and then running a separate wire to the points on my Shinohara switches, but I opted against it. A little testing showed that as long as I've got a good positive contact with the switches right in this area, I have good electrical conductivity through the switch. So I'm going to try a little experiment. I've bought some carbon conductive paste, which is used in electrical applications, and I am going to use a toothpick and very, very carefully put a very little amount on the bottom half of each point. I'm going to do just one switch to start to make sure I don't screw something up and have a bigger mess later. I'll let everybody know how that goes. I will also have then ground throws put on in this area so that I can manually flip the switch, which should provide even a better electrical contact. Underneath, it does not look pretty yet. Like I said, I've got a cluster under here. The little strip in front of us will go away. This is where the panel is going to be on this part of the front fascia of the portable layout. All of those wires I've just got hooked in temporarily, just so that I can run some engines, make sure I've got all of my connections set properly and I don't have any issues, which so far I've been doing pretty good. Up underneath the layout, I'm using both black and red wires. I've got bus wires that are running to the various areas for the blocks. It doesn't look too pretty, but it suffices, at least now. Like I said, this front area is going to get really cleaned up. I will have over on this side, this is where my red will go. They'll go from the switches to here for distribution out. So all of these wires right in front will actually go away. They'll be cut shorter and they'll be behind the panel as I get going. One thing that I did find out, which is pretty cool, is I was going to use little hooks to insert on the bottom of my table and then make my wiring look neater. Found that the 1-inch strips of blue painter's tape actually work very, very well in this application. I have a little piece of plywood, very thin as a sub base that my foam board sits on, and the tape adheres to this extremely well. So, at least for a while, I'm going to forego putting hooks on, and I'm going to stay with the painter's tape and just see how it goes. If that works, it's quick and it's easy. I can pull it down if I need to do some wiring or do some changes. Otherwise, I can use it to tape up further once I get everything set and I'm good. And I don't have to worry about doing anything else. I've put the painter's tape up on the front, on top on the foam board. This has been some months back as I started work on the layout. and that worked out very well as well. It doesn't come up, it sticks, so I'm going to leave it. Feeders. I opted to not go at the joiners. I do plan on soldering the joiners in the future once I do get the track actually glued down, which I'm going to use caulk, smear it onto the foam board, or onto the foam board as well as a cork, and go from there. What I have done is I did solder, and you can barely see it, which is exactly what I want. So the feeders are underneath the tracks, and I did not remove any ties from those. You can kind of see there a little bit underneath. So I cut the webbing between them, separated them ever so slightly, and then soldered my feeders on. This is code 70 track, so it wasn't that hard to work with. I got a good hot soldering gun. I used a piece of blue painter's tape over the rails, which I think actually helped dissipate a little bit of heat from the touch. I added a little bit of flux. I also roughed up the underside of the track ever so slightly with a diamond file. Put the flux on that. I tined it a little bit. Also tined the wires, bent the wires at approximately a 45-degree angle. Put a little bit of flux back on the wire after I tined it, and then set it to the rail, and very, very quickly. It was just a touch, a sizzle, and done. Ties did not melt, there's no heat damage. Everything looks pretty good, and I've got those scattered all across the layout. So a lot of wires. Everywhere you can kind of see a little bit of the red lines on the cork. That's where I've got feeders. So looking down, and once I have ballast in those areas, you are not going to know that there are feeder wires in those locations. Track is going to cover it, and again, it's easily accessible from underneath if I need it. If I ever have an issue, then I can just do a side solder job to the rail, or possibly go up to the rail joiners. But right now everything is holding. I had no problems with the wire. Using suitcase connectors to feed the power to it, and we're in pretty good shape. Putting a little power to the track right now. We actually have some movement, which is nice. So let's see how we do. It's kind of the first test actually through the scissors. Still some work to do. I'm going to be working on the switches next to make sure that I get good power through those points. Otherwise, I'm having fun. Talk to y'all later.